Welcome to Table for 92, element number 56, barium. It's number 56 because it has exactly 56 protons within its nucleus. For barium, we're cooking up some cotoletta alla bolognese to celebrate the Bolognese discovery of what turned out to be the famous Bologna stones in the 1600s, and that eventually ended up leading to the discovery of the element barium. So as far as foods go, there can be high amounts of the alkaline earth metal barium in foods like Brazil nuts, fish, and seaweed. Actually, Brazil nuts can be up to 1% barium, but I've already cooked with Brazil nuts for selenium, which is also ridiculously high in Brazil nuts, to the point you can actually get selenium and barium toxicity from eating too many Brazil nuts, but it's really only harmful to the human health if it's ingested in large amounts. Otherwise, for barium to be harmful, it's pretty unlikely to happen unless you're involved directly in some kind of industrial accident where some kind of barium compounds are being made. Barium is a very useful element with tons of applications, but not really all that important in the way of having a biological role in the human body. And like most elements, barium is not found in a pure, free state in nature. Like in a pure state, barium is a soft, silvery, alkaline earth metal. That's not what you're gonna find out in the wild, ever. It's funny though, the more you start learning about all these metals that aren't found pure in nature, they almost all turn out to be soft, silvery metals. It's just something I've noticed. It's like kind of boring. However, barium has tons of compounds that have been known about for a very long time. So the main source of barium is the mineral barite. It's a really beautiful mineral found all over the world in lots and lots of different forms. But the compounds of barium are very diverse in their composition and their uses, and we know people have used barium compounds, again, for a very long time. There are examples from all over the place, but one cool example I found is a study of glass beads from the 3rd century BCE in China, where the beads were made with like 19% barium oxide, which was probably used to give the blue glass a white inlay. But it's probably safe to say people back then didn't know the mineral barium oxide was a compound of barium, an element of the universe at that time. It's really just in the last, like few hundred years we figured out elements are a thing. But anyway, barium and its compounds have found plenty of uses over the millennia, but it was in the early 1600s when barium really hits the history books. Right, we're cooking up cotoletta alla bolognese because of the famous Bologna stones discovered right outside Bologna. It was a shoemaker and part-time alchemist, Vincenzo Casciarolo, who would discover and make famous those stones from Bologna. Alchemy, of course, was the study of how to fundamentally change forms of matter. Famously, they're trying to turn cheap metals like lead into expensive ones like gold. This does not work. I mean, we can do a lot of amazing things in science, like we can make potato chips taste like a taco, but we cannot turn lead into gold. Didn't matter though, back in the 15 and 1600s, alchemy was all the rage, the real bee's knees. Totally legit scientists like Sir Isaac Newton would even investigate alchemy. All of this kind of makes sense today, really, if you think about it. Today, obviously, it seems ridiculous turning lead into gold, but 400 years ago, way before geology became a real science, it would have been hard to explain away some minerals that really seemed to do magic, like the Bologna stones. Casciarolo, the shoemaker by day, alchemist by night, discovered these milky white colored stones in Paderno, just a few miles south of Bologna. By themselves, the Bologna stones aren't very interesting, but barium is really dense, so it feels heavy in the hand. Yeah, this is a nice piece that I've collected a while ago. I mean, really beautiful crystals. This is not pure barium, it's barite, the mineral. But it is heavy in the hand, you can feel it. And barite, this mineral comes out in tons of different forms, different colors. This is a perfect kind of example of the crystals, but the Bologna stones were very boring looking, nothing like this. Barite comes from the Greek word baris, meaning heavy. What really made barite special though was Casciarolo put his Bologna stones into an oven and heated them in a process called calcination. This caused cause them to absorb energy from sunlight and glow in the dark for hours or like even days at a time. So we now know that the Bologna stones had an impurity of copper ions that were actually the cause of the glow in the dark effects. But anyway, the discovery of the Bologna stones for many more years would be associated with barite and alchemy, as you know, the search for the philosopher's stone and all that. Like in Harry Potter. It was a big deal in the history of science. Really was. Like, this was the first time, as far as we know, someone discovered a mineral that had persistent luminescence. And Cascariolo was a good alchemist, kind of proto-scientist, and he shared his discovery. And coincidentally, it turns out that there's some great education in Bologna. Yeah, the University of Bologna is the oldest university in the world in continuous operation. It opened its doors in 1088. That's before the first Crusades even happened. So very, very old. Oh, they're gonna have a 1,000-year-old party in 66 years. So word spread about the Bologna stones. Even Galileo got a sample of barite to play with, I assume. But at this point in the early 1600s, scientific chemistry was just starting to pick up. So it was like another 200 years until barium was officially discovered. Through the mid-17 and into the mid-1800s, it's like a who's who of famous chemists that eventually isolated pure barium. Wilhelm Scheele discovered barium oxide in the mineral gypsum in 1774. Sir Humphrey Davy isolated some impure barium metal in 1808. And finally, Robert Bunsen, yes, the dude from the Bunsen burner, isolated pure barium metal from barium chloride in 1855. So, you know, it's the old game of who gets credit for the discovery. Most of what you read will say Sir Humphrey Davy gets the credit, but you know what? Davy discovered like 7 other elements. Let's throw Casciarola a bone here, right? And honor him with some coletta alla bolognese. Barium, because of its density, is used today a lot in the oil and gas industry. It adds density and weight to drilling fluids, and because our world still runs on oil and gas, barium is pretty important, as you can imagine. So in 2010, like somewhere around 5 million tons were produced worldwide. But you know, it also has other applications. Paints in high density concrete, plastics, photographic papers, and even in the medical field, barium sulfate can be ingested and is used as a contrasting agent for X-ray machines when investigating stomach issues. That is fantastic. The truffles are not that strong actually, so this is a lot better experience than my first time having truffles. First time I thought that tasted like feet, but this is just awesome. So yeah, barium is pretty cool. I love the history of the glowing Bologna stones, and I really love this cotoletta with the truffle. Absolutely amazing. Thank you. See you next time. I think these are great educational videos and I'm extremely entertaining. So, you know, smash that subscribe button.